bound and down, loaded up and trucking. We gonna do what they say can't be done. We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm eastbound, just watch no bandit run. Keep your foot hard on the pedal.
And hello, welcome to another Generations Game podcast with Mr. Chris Quirk, Esquire, representing those in their 40s.
Well, trying my best, anyway, I'm still alive.
Myself, H, representing those at the slightly older in the 60s-ish. Breathe not a word of it abroad. And today, our guest joining us for the Generations Game is Gabriela Corkish, who now, what, you're 20, 19, 21, 17, 16, what
17,
17, 17. Our youngest guest yet.
Yes.
I think, on the Generations Game.
Yeah. I think so.
Very nice. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast. And obviously, you're Gabriela. You were just saying before, people might know your voice or might know your face, so they take a look in that you're Jeff Corkish's granddaughter.
Yes.
That's a claim to fame in itself. Now, on this little podcast, we sort of talk about the differences between the generations. Just as we were coming in, you were saying now, in the past, we've been talking to Emma and we've been talking to Rosie about sort of going out, and you said, oh, you know what, I don't go out that much. I'm sure you do occasionally, but I'd rather, if I've got a few quid, put a tank of petrol in the car and go for a drive. So are you a young female petrolhead?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah?
100% love. I don't know where I got my passion for cars from. It sort of just happened. I think when I bought my first car when I was about 15, spending the time, it was a nice sporty car, but I enjoyed adding little bits to it and making it mine.
Oh, so you tinker about as well?
Yeah, yeah.
So, you said 15 there, that's
50,
actually before you can drive.
I wasn't actually planning on getting the car that soon. I just so happened to have seen it and thought, wow, that's really nice actually. And I never really wanted a Vauxhall Corsa. I never really liked them. And then I saw it and I thought, wow, that's a good price as well actually. So I went home and I said to Mum, I said, look, there's a really nice car there. And she said, well, I have to speak to your dad. And and anyway, in the end, we ended up buying this car, and I had it when I was 15. And I sold it about 5 months ago, and bought another car. And I just love messing with it and doing it up, making it mine, and going out with my friends. I love it, and going down all the different back roads. And
That's very impressive. So when did you learn to drive then? So could you drive at 15 before technically you're old enough to get a licence?
I knew how to, I knew the basics. I couldn't do all these fancy things they get you to do on your test, all these left reverses and 3-point turns and all this. But I could get a car moving and whatnot. So, and then I had my first lesson, I think 3-4 days after my birthday. So. And I passed November last year. So not long till I'm off the R plates now.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Did you pass first time, Mr. Quirk?
No, well, my first attempt, I did so well. And I was coming back to the test centre, and the instructor was actually talking to me throughout the test and asking me questions, what I was up to and what I was doing at the weekend, and it was really putting me off. And I thought in my head, oh, he's testing me to see if I can drive and talk at the same time, which is just ridiculous because he's clearly not. He just was bored, wasn't he? But I was coming back to the Quarterbridge roundabout to go back to the test centre, and he was talking to me, and he was like, oh yeah, so I'm going to be doing this and this at the weekend. So I stopped, and there were cars coming from the right, and then I stopped, and then the next minute it was like a mad Mexican standoff going on. So I went forward again, and then this car almost come into the side of me, and then I went forward again just to get out of the situation. Needless to say, he failed me, but I'm still somewhat bitter about it because it's his fault. He was talking to me.
Oh, that's no use.
And I will admit, I didn't pass first time.
Really?
I passed, as much as I'm into my course, I passed on my third time.
Well, third time lucky.
Yeah, and I passed my theory on my third time as well. So.
Wow. You see when I did it, it's all been said. So the theory's now separate to the practical, isn't it? And when I did it back in the day, and I have to say, and I'm not looking.
Is this when they had pedal cars?
Well, there were pedals. There was like a clutch and stuff. But I'm not looking smug here, anyone. But I did pass first time.
Did you? Oh,
yeah.
well done.
That's pretty good going,
so I started, and again, back in the day, it was very much the done thing. If you were lucky enough to have very generous parents, which I did, who were very kind and generous, and for myself and my brother, I was the youngest, and my sister, on basically your 16th birthday present was driving lessons.
Yeah,
And
that's all I wanted. Was
they
driving
paid for
lessons.
all my driving lessons, and I remember when I started, it was a little Toyota Corolla
Yeah.
with a wonderful guy called Walter Chad, and lessons were. How much do you reckon for a driving lesson?
£5.
£5. Bang
Yes.
on, bang on, £5 a lesson.
Wow.
What
There
are they
you
now?
go.
I was paying, started on £30 and then it went up just before I was coming to the end of, coming up to my test, I was paying 32. But
quid.
now, people I know driving now, they're paying 40, 45 quid for a lesson
For now.
What?
And the price of your theory's gone up. That I think I paid 35 quid for that, and now
No way.
that's...
That's separate.
Yeah, £35. So that's, I think that must be
Wow.
pushing £40 now. And your test was 57. I think that's in the 60s now.
It's an expensive business.
Glad I
that is.
passed when I did.
I was going
That's
to
all I'll
say.
say.
It's a good. You got to. So did you? Were you lucky enough to have your parents paying for that, or did you have to fork out yourself out of working?
They paid for a good majority of my lessons. It was more towards the end. I was paying for my lessons from working and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then theory I paid for myself, and I paid for one driving test. My parents paid for the second, and the third.
So you mentioned that you prefer just to go out and put some fuel in the tank as opposed to going out and getting on the town. But when you so surely you must have gone out and sort of enjoyed yourself and got sort of done up to an extreme for an event, whether it's a birthday or a celebration or something like that. Because we're still trying to understand, aren't we, Howard? What it takes for the younger generation to go out. Is it still exciting out there? Is it boring? Because when we were growing up, it was, it was quite good. It was really busy. They had big acts over. DJs would come over. But now it just seems as though there are just a few little bars which are, the most prominent, but not that exciting. I mean, do your friends talk about places that are good or?
Well, I mean, I can't speak from experience just because I'm not quite old enough to go
No.
to town yet. But there's people that I know who are at the age of 18 now, and they go to town some weekends, and I mean they seem to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
and they'll go around wherever. I think 1886 seems to be quite a big
That seems to be the
that
in
big
place.
seems
hit. That seems to be the in
one,
place,
doesn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
And there's the front porch and things. These places seem to be quite the in thing at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
moment. But obviously, I don't really. If I'm going to go out, it's going to be to a private party or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the gist that you're sort of massively thinking, I can't wait until I can go down to the.
No, not really.
And a short time to get there. I'm eastbound up. Watch old bandit run.
I think looking back when I was younger, I suppose it was different. I was out when I was 15. I used to get.
You were in the pubs at 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to steal my mum's mascara. I didn't put it on my eyes. But
Couldn't say.
Where's he going with this?
And I had like a little bit of bum fluff on my lip, and I used to like make it look like I had a moustache, and then I'd rock up to like Strand 58 or these clubs or Casey's or what it was then, and I'd have like this big, thick, like ridiculous moustache on me, and it worked because I got like a leather jacket from like one of the hospice shops, and it was like a man's leather.
The mind boggles.
It was like ridiculously too big for me, and this weird looking
Wow.
moustache.
Shows
Well,
how
I
times have changed then.
They have
You
changed.
wouldn't get
a
away
bit.
with that now.
No.
I'd get
no.
beaten up
No
for
way.
that, wouldn't
You see,
I?
I was a bit like you, and that I didn't really. My sort of brother, I had an older brother, and he's 3 years older, and he and all his gang were a bit like Mr. Quirk. And that's from the age of 14, 15, whatever onwards,
Yeah.
if they could pass for 18, then they'd try and go out. And I dare say, we won't mention any names, of course, but I dare say there are quite a few people in prominent positions in government and otherwise these days who would have been found just behind where we are now, and that the old
definitely.
Douglas Head Hotel,
Yeah.
when it was in its pomp behind here, which is all flats now and redeveloped, that used to be the in place for a lot of the youngies to go. And I think on an average Friday or Saturday night, the average age of the clientele would probably be about Gabriela's age or slightly younger, I'd have thought. And they also would put their mascara on their bum fluff, and in they go. And if they could pass for 18, they'd go in there. And I'm quite sure a lot of them did. I was a bit like you. I didn't really. Yeah. We liked going. Yeah. We did sort of drive, and I was one of the first to sort of. I didn't have a car like you did, but I did have. My mum was very good at saying, "You can take my car," on the basis that if I ever, particularly drink driving, she said, if you ever were caught driving my car and drink driving, you'll never have it again ever. And it was very strict on that.
So
if you're taking the car,
that's like her saying, just be clever about
anything,
it.
End of. Yeah. That was very, very strict, very wise too, and which I rigidly adhered to. But I was very popular because I did have the car, so we used to go out driving around the countryside sometimes, and doing that sort of thing, and then go back to someone's houses for a tea and a coffee. I mean, do you do that sort of thing? If you go out with your mates, or you're driving in your Merc, or do you just go out on your own?
No, well, I mean, it depends how I'm feeling, really. Sometimes I'll just go out, and go out on my own, but not for very long. Because
you're popular if you've got your own car. People say, "Oh, come on, Gab, can we get in?" And,
So when you're in your car, what music do you listen to?
Oh, now lots of people.
Are you inspired by Paul? Do you listen to his show on a Sunday? Because he plays across the decades, doesn't he?
Well, I used to listen to his show on a Sunday, but I've now, you come to that age, you realise, well, I've got a car to pay for here, so I took up a part-time job at Marks and Spencer's.
So
I work Sunday, so I can't tune in now. So if I get a
no.
chance, depending on when my break falls, I'll try and tune in when I can. But apart from that, I rarely get the opportunity now unless I've got a Sunday off. So.
And this is Uncle Paul.
Uncle Paul,
Uncle
great
Corkish.
Uncle Paul.
He's downstairs.
Wow.
Waiting.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
So,
when you put a CD in,
Max
oh, mind you, it's not CD
Bluetooth
anymore. This
now.
is me showing my head. When you put a tape cassette in,
what do you? So what, you play off your phone in the car?
yeah, Bluetooth. Just put Bluetooth on, and then put the phone in the door card, and
So I'm guessing you haven't got a cassette player in the car.
No, I think I just missed the car's just not quite. There is a CD player. There is a CD player, but I don't know where I did have CDs. I used to love CDs, but I don't know.
there's a gramophone in the back as well.
Yeah.
So you don't. They did that at one stage in a Rolls Royce. You could get a record player.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Going back in the day,
That's
it was like
quite
sort of clamp the record on.
interesting.
It actually played vinyl before CD obviously came out, and then cassette took over, and that was sort of the in thing. So so you download most of the music? You sort of listen to?
Yeah,
now
so I
and
use
just
Spotify for most
whack
of my
it down?
music and just make a playlist and
Playlist.
whatever. But I think if at my age now, obviously, I'll listen to old music and things. I enjoy some of the old ones. But that's Paul's fault, really.
What do you consider old?
What do I
music?
consider old?
Yeah.
Well, a song me and Paul really, really love would be "Eastbound and Down." That's our song, really, and was it Jerry? I forget who sings that now.
And the Pacemakers.
Jerry Rafferty?
No.
Jerry.
Paul will
Paul
go
would
mad
know.
for
He's gonna
this
tell
now
us
because
off
I
now.
can't
Oh,
remember.
I didn't know that. Obviously.
But that's I don't even know. I don't know if he can play that on the show now. It might be, but no, he might be able to actually. It might fall in his category, but. It's not very usually because I'm with friends most of the time, and I'll put something on. And think, what are you listening to that for? So it's I listen to quite a lot of stuff that's in the charts now.
Yeah. Any favourites?
I'd say a big favourite for me would be very recently over the past few months would be Sam Fender. One of my favourites by far. I listen to every song, I know the word for every song. I love it, and it's just there's not necessarily they're relatable, but there's just something about them where there's a song for anything really. If you're feeling a bit down, if you're feeling you're in a really good mood, it fits anything, and I just love his music. I really do.
I remember the sickness was forever. I remember snuff videos, cold Septembers, the distances we covered, the fist fights on the beach, the busies round us up. Do it all again next week, in embryonic love. The first time that it's scarred, embarrass yourself for someone, crying like a child. And the boy you kicked Tom's head in still bugs me now. That's the thing, it lingers and claws you when you're down.
there's all the upbeat things, you know. I don't know, what else do I listen to? I listen to a lot, to be honest. It's just, you just put it on shuffle and see what comes on.
The way it goes.
Yeah, and it depends depends where I'm driving, who I'm with. It really does depend, to be honest. But I will listen to pretty much anything.
And are you unusual in having your own car at 17?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, lots of people that I go to school with have got their own car. I mean, I know some people who are on about their fourth or fifth car because they just can't.
At 17?
Because they've crashed them, or they're just buying
them? No, he just can't
Wow.
he just changed his mind all the time. He had one car, I don't like
Where
it
do they
anymore.
get this money from, though?
I have no idea.
Is this coming from their mum and dad, or have they got great
there are
jobs?
People that I do know who are driving around in better and more expensive cars than me, and I'm thinking,
how is that?
How is this possible?
So
you know,
have you done any investigating into that?
No, I just let them crack. I sit there and I say I'm jealous. But there's some of the cars you see on R plates now or on L plates. I think, how on earth?
That's very impressive.
So you say you've had friends, or you've known friends that have had various vehicles. So are these just do they just get loans to get these, or get into debt for it, or is it?
I know a few people who have taken loans for their cars, not necessarily. Well, just only because they have to. Really, it's not because it's a car that they really, really want. It's genuinely because they need to. But there are some people who are driving around. You know, I won't point fingers and I won't name names, but there are people.
Howard's in your BMW.
No, I do know people who are driving around in cars, and I think, how have you paid for that? How, you know?
Yeah.
And I really do. I wonder, because I sit and think, well, I couldn't.
No.
Well,
I'm only getting X amount a month, and I'm thinking, there's no way I can afford a car like that. And plus, I'm only 17, I can't finance anything.
No, that's
old
tricky.
enough.
And I sometimes see these sort of, usually young guys rather than young women, and they'll be in a really sporty BMW or a Hyundai or a Subaru Impreza or something. I'm thinking, A, how they bought it, and I think, what's the insurance that must be there for
it's
it?
phenomenal, isn't it?
I mean, I realised that when I changed cars, because my insurance was very cheap for my first car. Well, I say very cheap, it was cheap. It was the best price you could get on the island, really, for a learner. But as soon as I changed car, I mean, my insurance doubled.
Woof. That's painful.
Yeah, it is. So I pay that monthly because I couldn't afford to pay it outright. No chance.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I don't mind paying the price if it's for something that I love. So.
Well, yeah, and it's really interesting to hear, because I mean, I think certainly talking to Emma and to Rosie before that, and to Sadie when it was in, they've all quite going out. None of them, interestingly, have mentioned cars as being a thing in their life. I think they all drive, but it's just a case of it just gets me to A to B.
Yeah.
End of.
No,
so it's interesting. And have you got any other sort of girlfriends who are again petrol heads as well? Is it something you reckon? Are you a bit of a one-off in your sort of friendship group?
Well, we're talking friendship group. I'm definitely the one-off. That's, you know, I'm the only one that will actually. I'll sit there and say, "Oh, you do know that car can do that, or you do know this is that, or this is that," and they're all sitting there like, "How do you know this? And why have you just told me that?" But I do have a few of the girls. They do, you know, they'll see a nice car and they'll, "Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, well, I'd like what they know what car they want. They know their dream car." But there are, I mean, there's some of the girls, they get bought a car and they say, "Oh, ace, right, I've got a car, A to B, that's me sorted. I can get to school on my own, I can go to the shops on my own."
It's funny that, because I had a friend a few years ago, and he got into major debt to get a really expensive car. I think it was I don't know what it was. I think it was like a Mercedes of some sort, but it was like a proper showy car.
Yeah.
And he absolutely loved it for about 2 or 3 months, but then the novelty wore off. And then he started questioning, well, why did I buy this car?
Exactly.
And then he was coming to the conclusion, yeah, it's nice. People are coming up and saying, "Oh, that's a nice car," and he was getting into the car and it was good. But then that kind of wore off, and he ended up selling it again and just getting a cheaper car because he thought it's so expensive to maintain, to run, and things like that.
And I know people like that. You know, they have a car, they have it for 6 months, they change again, and the novelty, it does wear off. But there's some people who you have to know really whether you want to buy a car that's already done up, it's had all its spoilers done, its diffusers, its splitters, its exhausts. But then, do you want a nice car but do those bits yourself?
Well,
this is the thing. You have to. Do you pay the price for something that's already done and you just get to drive it, or do you want something that you can put your mark on and it still look really nice? So I'm a bit of both, to be honest. It would just depend on the car, but I to be honest, I'm looking forward to see what I have next. And I've only had this for a few months.
A car
but
isn't just for Christmas, is it?
It's for life.
You've got to look after it.
Exactly,
and
I look
cherish
after all my cars. I don't,
Listen, we could talk for ages on this. I must admit, I can see Mr. Wint. We're going to get kicked out of this studio. You realise that? Yeah,
He's
we're going to get kicked out because we've got to make way for the man alive. We're chatting today. It's been lovely talking to you today. Thanks ever so much for dropping
thank you for having me on.
Maybe have another chat. So, very quickly then, dream car.
Oh, dream car
money
for
no
me.
object.
Question.
Dream car would be a Porsche 911 GT3 RS in shark blue. But if we're talking realistic, a Mark 7 Golf GTI. There we go. That's.
Oh, yeah.
You never know. You might see me in one of those.
Is that one of them hybrids?
No.
No?
GTI petrol.
Oh, is it?
Get with it,
Chris.
Stupid me.
Blimey.
No, I've got a diesel now. I don't want another diesel. Petrol automatic. There you go.
And we're on. And then to hybrids. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have you back again. Lovely talking to you today. Thanks ever so much for joining us on the Generation Game.
Okay.